Hi, welcome to Happier Ladies. We're sisters who discuss all things related to work, family, and personal growth.
We draw inspiration from everywhere, especially from you, our listeners, to keep moving forward with joy and laughter in the big adventure that is life.
1 week at a time.
I'm Azizi Williams. I live and work in the LA area. I'm a mom of two, soon to be an empty nester, and I'm an education professional in the independent school world. I'm here with my sister, Malika Amandi.
That's me. I'm a SoCal native living in Western Massachusetts, a newish mom, and I work in higher ed.
In this episode, we recap the Happier with Gretchen Rubin podcast and Happier in Hollywood podcasts with Liz Craft and Sarah Fain.
But first, we have to check in about the food tour we went on yesterday.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun, Malika. I love this concept of a food tour. It's great.
It was nice. So we were in Boston. We went around the North End neighborhood. That's what it was called, right?
Yes, you're right. It's Little Italy, and it's very historic. We went and saw Paul Revere's home, and just so many really cute, delicious Italian-American eateries, from cappuccino and cannoli.
Yes, we had a cannoli. That was really good.
Yeah, we had pizza and we had an Italian sub. And shout out to our guide, Nabil. He was so informed and funny and just did a great job of keeping us entertained and also educated and being a really good host. So we didn't have very much time in the city, and I wanted to go to Boston, but going to Boston for just a few hours is overwhelming when you don't have a plan. So this was Malika's suggestion. It was a really good anchor.
And we had nice weather. It was chilly, but it was sunny the whole time, which has not been the case on this trip.
Yes, now that I've been in New England for a little while, I understand why people get so excited when the sun comes out. Because that's what everyone was commenting on all day. It was like, oh, how about the sun? These aren't things people say in Los Angeles. So that's been fun.
I felt very vindicated in all my weather talk and like complaining about not knowing what to wear. I feel like you're experiencing a taste of that this week.
Yeah. Malika, you are absolutely right. I was paralyzed with decision about what jacket to bring. I have no idea what jacket to bring because it's warm, it's cold, it's windy, it's rainy. How do you dress for that? I don't know.
It's an art. I'm still on that journey myself.
I usually just bring both jackets in the car and then just prolong the decision until I get there. But it's hard to dress for this weather. I get it now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Malika, what happened on Happier in Hollywood?
On Happier in Hollywood, episode 410, Elizabeth and Sarah teach listeners how to use Substack. They discuss signs of a project not going well, and then they share a listener hack about naming contacts on your phone. In episode 411, they have a conversation with author Charles Duhigg about communicating well.
Malika, remember when I was asking about Substack like just 6 months ago?
Yes, it was so mysterious and kind of still is.
It just blew up not all of a sudden. Obviously, we're following Sarah and Liz and their adventure into Substack, but it's pretty cool. I actually did get into it and signed up for their Substack, and I'm a paying member, and it's a whole new world. It's a whole new world.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a thing for a while, but now somebody that we care about is in that world. And so it's like relevant to us now.
Now it matters. It didn't matter before. But I'm having the challenge that I have with reading in general, which is that I just listen to things. I have not figured out how to find time to read or really watch content. So that's something that I need to work on because there's so many great things to read there. And I want to get into it, but I just haven't figured out how yet.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. One of the other things they discussed was, I think the question actually came from Gretchen to them about how do you know when a project isn't going well?
Right.
Like when they're working on an assignment. And that got me thinking, like in our realms, professional realms or personal realms, like any project, how do you know when it's not going well? And I think for me, and this is actually true when I was coaching too in my own business, like I would have events, I would create professional development experiences. And sometimes people would sign up through their company and it was like I was hired and so the company would get people to attend. But the bigger things were when I would put on an event myself. And there was one in particular, this was like towards the end. Maybe this wasn't why I stopped, but it was like
Hmm.
a signal, at least for the time being. I collaborated with a friend. We put together this really what we felt was amazing workshop content, and like 2 people signed up.
Oh,
It was like a multi-day thing, and I mean, we didn't do it because it wasn't enough people, but it was like, that's a sign it's not going well, you know? And like
yeah.
for any event, people often sign up at the last minute, you really wait till the end, but if people don't come, they don't come.
I've been in those situations before, and no matter what, you feel like you're in middle school and you just wanna be picked, or you're,
Yep.
like, throwing a party and you don't know if anyone's coming to that party. That's the worst.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still often in the same paradigm in working with students when we put on content or programming for students and nobody shows up or very few people show up. That means it's not going well.
Yeah. And I think they talked about just silence.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's universal. If you have reached out or you've made an offer and there's silence, that's awful. That means that it's not going well. And so I try to remember that and just no matter what, communicate. Communicate if
Yeah.
I'm going to go, if I'm not going to go. I try to remember that because that silence is tough. They shared in this episode a hack from a listener about naming your contacts on your phone more specifically so they can be easily identified as your husband or your children and so on. And it made me think about something that I started doing with my girls way back when I got my first car that had, I don't think it was Apple Play, but it had voice recognition on it. And so whenever I wanted to call one of my girls, I would say, call Sinai. And inevitably, it would call the wrong contact. Like, for some reason, it just couldn't recognize the names of my children. And so I realized if I named them longer, then it would recognize it as right. So I made up longer names for my girls and my contacts. So Sinai was Sinai Universe because she loved this cartoon called Steven Universe. And Ilea was just Ilea the Great. I don't remember why, but it worked. And so then for the last like 10 years, that's who they have been in my contacts. And Malika is Malika Sister Williams. My
That's great.
contacts. Old name, but it was very specific. Instead of just one name, having longer names makes it easier for the voice recognition to happen.
Smart. I haven't tried that before, but I do often get frustrated with it.
Yeah.
So that's a good hack. I have a nickname for Norm. I won't get into it. It's very idiosyncratic, but it's been for kind of since we've known each other. That's the contact in his phone, but nobody would have any idea that this person was related to me based on the contact name. But I did realize in iPhone contacts, when you're editing a contact, you can go in and add somebody to your in case of emergency list and it asks you what their relationship is. So I did do that.
Oh, that's
So
good. That's a step I need to take. And Malika, you and your nicknames, it's just ridiculous.
it's out of
It's
control.
it's out of control. You guys have names for everything that are very cutesy and thoughtful and specific and unique.
Yesterday or the other day, you were saying, because we have names for each car.
Right.
The van is named Susan.
Oh,
The
okay.
other car is named Carlton. And you were like, we should name our cars because it's kind of helpful.
I get it. We have 2 Kias, and when we're trying to determine which one needs what, it's like, "Oh, take the Kia." "The what?" "Oh, the Kia." The Kia and
Yeah.
we have to get more specific. They're different colors, so that's fine. So I do get it, but Susan, like
We inherited that car from my sister in law, and she had already named it Susan. So we just had to keep that name.
So this is the thing that people just do.
It
They just
is.
name their cars. We didn't grow up this way. Our parents did not name their cars.
You're right. But it is a thing
Uh,
people do.
interesting.
If
Interesting.
you name your car, please let us know.
Okay, I will consider it. I will.
I mean to the audience, our
Oh,
listeners.
you're not talking to me.
I don't think you're gonna do it.
You know me too well.
It is a way to put whimsy in.
That's true, and you know what? It would be cool if it was like, you know how you can make your password a mantra? Like, maybe the name of your car could be a mantra, like, "Today is going to be great, car," or something. I don't
Okay.
know. Make it a mantra if you have to name it, then at least it's got a job to do, you know?
Yeah. In episode 411, their guest, Charles Duhigg, talked about communicating on a very deep level, and he had a lot of great advice. One of the things that he recommended was not being afraid to ask deep questions, maybe even in small talk situations. So the example he gave was if you meet a doctor at a party, the first thing you might ask would be like, "Oh, well, where do you work?" or "What hospital do you work at?" Which is kind of a one-word response, but he would ask a question instead like, "Oh, why did you decide to go into medicine?" Which opens the conversation up so much and creates an opportunity for a real connection point versus maybe something just more surfacey. So I thought that was a really good hack to remember. Asking a why question instead of a direct
No, I
thing.
love this advice because I've literally been in this exact situation where I'm small talking with someone who is in the medical profession, who is a doctor of some sort. And when we get to this part where they talk about being a doctor, I don't have anywhere to go from there. I tend to go more into depth, like, "Tell me about what it's like to be this doctor," but that's
Hmm.
a hard question, and there's so many gaps in terms of terminology and what I could really understand in that context, at a party or in a social event, but asking someone why they got into it, that just opens up so many more possibilities for connection, I think, and for actually learning more about the person as opposed to
Hmm.
the nuances about this job they do. So I love that. I'm going to definitely try to use that.
Yeah, he also talked a lot about listening and how we often assume communication is about talking, but that a significant part of it is actually about just listening well. And it reminded me of this coaching paradigm I learned from this approach called coactive coaching, where they talk about there's 4 levels of listening. The first level is like you're kind of just downloading what somebody is saying, like you hear it, but you're really thinking about yourself as they're speaking. So you're focused on kind of your own thoughts and what you need to say. And we know when we're in this kind of conversation where either for our own reasons, we have a sense of urgency and aren't really like there to hear the other person, or we sense somebody else is like that with us, just waiting to say their
Mm,
piece. Level 2 is like, okay, you're focused on understanding the facts and the details of what the other person is saying, which reminds me of what he was saying, the practical aspects of a conversation, the
mm,
logistics. Level 3 is like, okay, you're understanding the speaker's feelings and where they're coming from. And then there's this like next level of coaching listening, level 4, where you are hearing what somebody is saying. You're like taking in their facial expressions, you're taking in their tone, and you're also like holding the bigger picture in mind of who this person is or what's possible and kind of helping them make connections, which is something a coach is meant to do. But just the idea that you could really activate these different levels of listening if you're intentional, I think is really powerful. And in my experience, that's why people really get a lot out of, a great therapy session or a coaching session is because they have this experience of being listened to and being
mm.
seen.
It requires you to be so mindful, though, and in the moment, I'm one who I always jump to problem solving. If someone comes to
Mm,
me and they're telling me their problem, I'm gonna tell them how to fix it. Or I'm gonna give them, like 50 million different ideas or suggestions, and they didn't necessarily ask for that. So, I have to
right.
remind myself, and I need to work on how to just be in that listener stance, and that sometimes is enough, is to just hear them and to see them and to help them feel listened to without having to try to fix it.
Well, I like what he was saying about asking what somebody wants. Because sometimes people do want solutions, but that check-in of, are you looking for solutions or do you just want to be heard right now? I think is a very empowering conversation to have, or a checkpoint, because I think sometimes people don't know when they begin speaking what they want. And maybe you can kind of offer that clarity to
Mm.
them that you're available for either thing.
Yes, yes, yes. So helpful. So many practical tips for something we all do all the time, every day. We could
Yes,
spend more time thinking about communication because this is something that is essential to our relationships and our work.
absolutely.
Okay, let's take a break. And when we get back, we'll discuss happier.
Azizi, how's your dinner game these days?
Well, Malika, I used to struggle with what to cook for dinner.
You're cooking now?
Okay. Actually, my husband used to struggle with what to make for dinner. I mean, meal planning, grocery lists, yuck. But then we found Prep Dish. It's a weekly meal planning service that tells you exactly what to cook. And now they've partnered with Instacart, so your grocery list becomes a ready to go online cart.
Oh, what's in your cart, Azizi?
All of the Prep Dish ingredients, plus I can add energy drinks, chili crisp, lipstick, whatever, and check out in just a few clicks. Shopping online is so fun. The meals are family friendly, healthy, and super easy to prep. Dinner is easy to make, and now we look forward to new tasty meals.
Prep Dish is offering our listeners 2 weeks free. Just head to prepdish.com/happierladies to sign up. Again, that's prepdish.com/happierladies.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
All right, we are back. Azizi, what happened on Happier recently?
On More Happier, Gretchen and Liz have a conversation with author Ramit Sethi about couples and money. And on episode 526, they discuss the rule of more. On More Happier, Malika, they had a fascinating author speaking about tips and suggestions and strategies on couples and money. What were your takeaways?
I thought it was really interesting. I immediately thought of Katie Chen Mazzara, who I have mentioned before. She's a friend of the pod. She is a financial coach that I've worked with and that Norm and I worked with together. I think we started meeting with her when we were engaged. And I thought of her immediately because all of these hard questions he was talking about, of like things that would be helpful for couples to discuss, or the thesis was basically like people don't talk about money together in their relationships because it can feel very hard. And most of us have conflicting viewpoints that we never delve into. And I thought about Katie because this is her work, is helping people have these conversations, which is a huge service. And so I felt really like proud, I'll just say it, proud, like whatever my
Just say it, Malika.
financial situation aside, I've talked about with my partner our values around money and our childhood things that have come up. And that's really helpful to have that foundation. So that doesn't feel like so treacherous, and I think it did at a point in my life.
Yeah.
There was a time when I took a class. It was offered by the Entertainment Community Fund. It was called The Psychology of Money. And this was recommended after I did like a budgeting class for actors, that, well, if you really want to do some deep work, you should take the Psychology of Money class. And Azizi, it was so hard for me to do that class. It wasn't a big group. There were like 5 people. And it was just the intensity of thinking about my ideas around money was so uncomfortable for me at that time that I just flaked. I kept finding excuses, like really
Yikes.
lame excuses not to go.
Yeah. Was it hard to, like, talk about it in front of other people, or it was just the thinking about it that was hard?
It was really the thinking about it, like,
Hmm.
doing the personal work. I didn't wanna make time for it. I didn't want to ruminate on it, where these different beliefs come from, and it's just funny because I just wasn't ready for that conversation. It's not easy, and I wasn't ready for that work, and then later in life, I was.
Right.
But I could recognize now, like, wow, it was just hard. It's not an easy thing to get into, and I think money, food, time, these are things that we always have to be in relationship with no matter what.
Yes.
So I think that kind of work is really useful, whatever your situation is, but it's not something that is generally encouraged.
Kudos to you, Malika, for having done all of that work, and even the course you took first, the budgeting course that you said you took, and then even though you didn't finish the psychology course, clearly you've done a lot of work and have been intentional around this. This is work I have to do. It's on my list of things to do. And I think being recently married, I keep thinking about this show that I'm watching that you turned me on to, Later Daters, right? I don't know
Mm,
if we've talked about that on the podcast yet, but the dating coach says something like two people, when they get married in their 20s, they're like nation building together. They don't have anything, they
mhm.
come together, they're building up their wealth. But when you're older in your 40s and 50s, it's like a merger. It's like two
Yeah.
fully formed people and all of their things coming together. And mergers are so much harder than just building something from nothing. So I'm thinking about that and how to have a merger with this marriage that I'm in now. But I'm inspired. I'm inspired by the work that you've done and by what the author was talking about. And I have on my list for 25 doing some education around money. So maybe it's his book. I don't know. I would love to take this hard psychology of money class. Maybe I can pretend to be an actor and sign up.
Well, I have to say the catalyst for all of that was that I was really struggling financially, and I got a grant from the Entertainment Community Fund.
Oh, wow.
And as a stipulation of this grant, I had to take this class.
Really?
Yes.
There were strings tied.
Yes.
Wow.
It might have been from the SAG Foundation, but the workshop was through the Entertainment Community Fund. But it really opened up my eyes to a lot of things and started me thinking about those issues and stuff. So,
Well, I would pay for the class.
yeah.
I'm gonna, yeah, look around for something like that.
One of the questions that he asked, that he suggested that every person kind of ask for themselves and then share that with your partner and understand your partner's vision. It's like, what does it mean for you to have a rich life? And he said, for some people, having a rich life is driving a fancy car or a certain brand name car. For some people, it's being able to pick up their kids from school. Like, it doesn't have to be a necessarily monetary thing, but what do you imagine as like a rich life for yourself?
This is an interesting one. It's one I might want to spend more time thinking about and reflecting on because I like my life. I do like my life. Mostly, I think about the future and wanting to make sure that I can do the things that I love doing into the future. And I think that's a rich life, like not having any
Yeah.
stress or worry about taking care of myself and my family well into my retirement years. I think that's mostly my rich life. What about you?
There's a couple things. One is, and Norm and I share this value, is like mobility, really being able to move around and physically do the things I can do now, like into the future.
Do you mean like walking and
Yes.
limping? Ah, got it.
Standing up, sitting
Got
down,
it. Okay.
picking,
Like your
lifting
health.
things
You're
up.
talking about a health span.
Yeah. So that's a health span thing, but that feels rich to me. If I can be agile and doing yoga when I'm 85,
Right.
like that feels really abundant.
Yeah.
And then travel is a big piece, like the freedom and flexibility to travel when I want to for however long, and to have the means to stay in nice accommodations.
Right.
I told you I've been watching this show, The Parisian Agency on Netflix, and a lot of the people who are buying homes on this, they're buying a second home or a pied-à-terre, which is like a French phrase that means like a house or an apartment in the city where they like to visit a few times a year.
Right.
They don't wanna deal with hotels anymore. They wanna have their home in this city.
Yeah.
I mean, that's beyond a rich life. That's like
Yeah.
different level, but
Billionaire life.
what a fantasy. I love the idea
Yeah.
of, like, just having these little homes and spots all over that you can visit.
But Malika, my pied a terre is your house for the East Hampton. I'm living the rich life when I get to stay with you.
But, like, imagine if you had your own little apartment here that you could decorate the way you wanted to and,
Yeah.
I don't know, furnished,
Yes, I get it. I do.
but I'm happy to be your pied à terre.
Thank you. And you can stay with us as long as Ilea is not there also. That third bedroom is always yours.
But it's a good question, I think.
Yeah.
What is a rich life for you? In episode 526, they talk about the rule of more. So this is kind of inspired by Gretchen's Secrets of Adulthood. She has different aphorisms about how the desire for more of something will create more of something, or the practice of more of something. So Liz has talked a lot about the more she writes, the more she writes, or the more you sleep, the more you sleep. It's like this kind of phenomena with a lot of different things. And it made me think of this funny Frasier episode. We'll put it in the show notes, where he's like tasked with creating a jingle for his radio show. It's supposed to be very simple. And he just keeps making it more and more elaborate. He's got a whole orchestra. There's like a chorus. And they're like, Frasier, whatever happened to less is more? He's like, well, if less is more, just think about how much more is.
It makes sense.
It makes sense. Right?
I love that episode.
Do you have a example of this in your life, Azizi?
I think the examples that they gave just resonate so much in terms of
Yeah.
exercise and reading. But I think about being in nature. The more I'm in nature, the more I want to be
Mm.
in nature. Maybe my volunteer work, my board work. I love being on boards. The more I'm on it, the more I
Yes, you
want to be
do.
on them. And I also think about the song called, what is it called? I don't know what it's called, but a song that we used to sing to our preschoolers when I was a preschool teacher. And it's love is something, if you give it away, you end up getting more. And the song
Mm.
talks about how it's not like a penny. If you give it away, you don't have any. But when you love, you just get more. And so love is something that more is more.
Yes.
When
Yes.
you give affection or, positivity, you get it back. I think that definitely counts.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways that can be applied in the, like, antithesis of the scarcity mindset, right? Is
Right.
like feeling like, oh, if I've got great travels, I might feel like it's going to run out. I'm not going to get to go somewhere else again soon, or this might be my last trip.
Right.
Whereas the more philosophy would be like, I'm doing it and I'm going to do more of it and I want more of it. And there can be more.
For me this year, I think I talked about it way back on the Labor Day episode. I intentionally wanted to tell more positive stories about my school and
Mm,
challenge everyone around me to tell positive stories. And it has actually been fantastic. It's, I think, created even more positivity and more storytelling, and people just tuned in and have their eyes open for more. So that is definitely the rule of more in action. But then I can think about like the negative side, like TV watching. Like
yes.
more TV
Yes.
leads to more TV.
Yeah. I think there was a time when I was teaching my teaching artist days where there was like a very set curriculum, K through second grade, this kind of science, arts integration thing, that like learning the curriculum and the moves, it was a big mental load.
Hmm.
But then once I learned it, it kind of had this moment where I thought, is this it? Like, isn't this going to get boring? I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. But what actually happened was the more I did it, the more I saw just ways that people could use it, or the little nuances that people responded to, or
Mm.
the challenges. It kind of became more dynamic the more exposed to it that I was, which is true of, like, I guess any kind of expert experience, right?
Right.
Like, the more you play the piano, kind of the more there is to, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that, but
I don't know anything about a piano,
I
but I
don't know
will tell
anything about a
you,
piano.
I had this experience with Disney where I've talked about this, so many times before. My husband and I went for a honeymoon for the first time together. I hadn't been in like 10 or 12 years before that. And it was fantastic. And then we thought, let's go one more time. And then let's go one more time. And then we're like, we'll just go seasonally for 1 year. And then we bought the passes. And I thought, is this a terrible idea? We're going to get tired of it. It's not going to be fun anymore. And the opposite is true, Malika. We want to go and then we want to go back. And it's
Yeah.
that more is more. And it's like Gretchen in the Met. There's
Yeah.
so much depth and nuance and things that change. And then there's just the people watching of it. And there's just more there. So yeah, I love this concept. Something to think about. And going back to what you said about abundance mindset, that's a great way to apply it.
Yeah. Well, let's take a break. And when we get back, we will.
Hey, it's Paris. You know, I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Share our peaks and valleys.
Okay, we're back with peaks and valleys because in life there are always peaks and always valleys. This is an odd episode, so Malika is up first with a peak.
All right. So my peak this week, naturally, is the sister visit.
Yay!
A sister and family over the weekend. You and both of your children were here. And now you and Sinai are here. It's just been really lovely. And I think the peak is just getting to hang out and do fun things together. But also, you really help out. And so do your children. You put the dishes away and take the dog out and play with Indigo. And it really makes things a little bit easier.
Aw.
So that feels really nice. I always feel supported and taken care of when you visit. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. You are our pied a terre. So, of course, Malika. It's so much fun. And, the girls are getting older, and I don't know how much longer we'll get to do these kinds of things. So,
Mm,
every bit of it, I love also. Thank you for being a good host to us.
my pleasure. Zizi, what is your valley?
My valley is catastrophizing. We
Mm.
were just talking about putting more positivity out, and that is something that I challenged myself with this year, and I had some hard weeks at work, and
Mm.
I just slid into that old catastrophizing. It never helps. Doesn't make anything better. It just makes things harder, so I'm reminding myself to not do that, to not go there. It's
Mm.
not helpful, and to lean into the positivity instead.
Okay. Well, I hope that giving yourself the valley will turn the tides.
Exactly.
That brings us to the end of this episode. Azizi, let's leave on a happier thought. Is there anything you're going to try this week?
I'm definitely going to look into some money classes, courses. I don't know, something. I'm going to look into something to cross that off my list. If you have any ideas, Malika, send them my way.
Okay.
What about you, Malika?
I think I'm going to watch more of the Parisian Agency. This
There
is
you
not
go.
something
Because
new.
more will bring more.
This is what I'm.
The Parisian agency for you.
It's fun. It makes me happy.
Good.
Well, thank you for listening to this episode. You can find our show notes in the episode description. If you like us, please rate, review, and tell a friend. And don't forget to follow us.
Send us a message at happierladies@gmail.com.
Our show was edited by Magnus Bjorgum, and our theme music was created by Wyatt Muncie.
You can find us on Instagram at happierladies and on the web at happierladies.com. All right, Malika, have a happier week.
Have a happier week, Azizi. Bye.
Bye.
I do. Will you say that again? There was something brushed the microphone.
No, they're running upstairs.
Oh,
Nothing brushed the microphone.
all right. Well, What are we going to do about
I
that?
don't know. I could do it again, though. It's just like indigo steps.
Yeah.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.